Hello everyone. Today I'm going to discuss about the fractures and its classifications. So in this topic I'm going to discuss about what is fracture, what is dislocations, what is sprain and strain, what are the different types of the fractures. So what is the classical like a classification of the fractures. So we are going to see the everything in step by step here. So and in the first topic so is going to be about the definition of the what is fracture and also dislocations. So according to the definition, fracture is a break in the surface of the bone, either across its cortex or to the articular surface. So if any damage, any breakdown in the surface of the bone, so it is called as a fracture. So any breakage in the either cortex or at the articular surface, is there here fracture or articular surface, or is there any is the articular surface is called as fracture. So and also is it the is different types of so many different types of fractures are is it the open fracture and closed fractures and also complete fracture and incomplete fractures. So according to the causative factors and mechanisms, the fractures will be different and also the shape will be different. So here we are going to discuss in the detail all the fractures and also coming to the definition of the dislocations. So what is dislocations? So dislocation means is a complete and also persistent displacement of the joint. It's nothing but is the separation of the joint surface here. If the two bony fragments is there, for example, if in the shoulder, it's the glenoid cavity and also head of the humerus is going to be separated. So because of the any muscle weakness or because of the any ligament laxity. So it may be either causative factors. So next one is the subluxations. So this also that's a partial separation of the joint from the bones. There's a segment, so it is called as subluxations. So it's a partial. If you see here, this is a normal shoulder joint. So it's going to be completely attached to the glenoid cavity, but in the subluxation is going to be partially separated from the glenoid cavity. So this is called is the subluxation. So if it comes in the dislocations, is completely separated from the glenoid cavity. So that is called as dislocation. So coming to the sprain and strain. Sprain is a temporary subluxation of the joint due to the ligament injury. Is because of the ligament laxity or ligament injury. So and also and articular surface return to normal alignment. So because of this ligament laxity, so it may use the subluxation in the joint. So the ligament is going to be involved more in the sprain. Example is in a ankle sprain. So if any sudden twisted of the ankle joint may use the ankle sprain. So another one is going to be the muscle strain. So we can commonly seen in the if any do any vigorous activity and also improper activities of the muscle, so may chance to get the damage and also it will get the tear and also maybe it will give the damage in the muscle. So which is called as strain. That is also muscle strain. Most commonly seen in the muscle. So these are the different terms we are going to see in related to the musculoskeletal injuries. So it's a fracture, dislocations, subluxation, sprain, and strain. So if you see the classification of the fractures, so these are classified into so many different types of the fractures are there. So according to the this are open and also closed and also exposure of the tissue, so divided into the open fracture and also closed fractures. If you see in the simple or closed fractures, in the simple and closed fractures, the bone fragments are not going to be exposed to the outside. So it's not going to the exposed to the outside, but the bone can break within the soft tissue envelopes and maybe continue to the exterior. So if you see in the simple or closed fracture, so the bone fragments are going to stay in the soft tissue. It's not exposed outside. Here, there is no bleeding into the outside. Only the fracture occurs, but it stay in the soft tissue. So when it exposed to outside, including the bleeding and also swelling of the joint, so it may associated with is a compound fracture or open fractures. Open means it comes exposed to outside. Closed means it's not exposed to outside. So that is the difference between the simple and compound fractures. So in the compound or open fractures, it may be ripped through the soft tissue or the soft tissue itself may be damaged by the external forces, exposing the bone into the external atmosphere. So this bone is going to come outside. So along with the exposed to outside, it will give the bleeding to the outside. This depends upon the injury type mechanism as well as the external force, how much they are going to get the external force. So it depends upon the external force. So the fractures is going to be closed or also open. So if you see the other classifications, so this is going to be the other divided into the, these fractures are going to divide into the complete fractures and also incomplete fractures. So if you see in the incomplete fracture, incomplete means the fracture is not going to be like a not complete. So only is the line is incomplete, only one cortex is going to be broken. If you see in the bone, so here is going to be, if you see the cortex, only one side is broken. Other side is going to be the intact. So this is the incomplete fracture. Only one side cortex is going to be broken. So coming to the complete fracture, so these complete fracture is going to be, the fracture fragments are going to be complete. The both cortex are going to be like a broken. So if you see here, this side as well as both sides are going to be get the fractures. So if you see here, so this is the complete like a fracture. So here the fragments are is separated and also it has the break at the both sides of the cortex. So these are the two types of the fractures. It's an open fracture, so it's a complete fracture and incomplete fracture. So if you see the other classifications or other subdivisions of the complete fractures, so these complete fractures again divided into the, so many types of the fractures. So these are the transverse fractures, oblique or spiral fractures, impacted fractures, and also comminuted fractures. If you see in the transverse fractures, the fragments are usually in the place after the reductions. So still after the reduction, they're still going to be in the remain the same place. So exactly in the like a transverse plane, so the fracture fragments are going to be, we can see. So there is no like complete disruption, but both sides is a fracture is there. That's both cortex are going to be involved. If you see the oblique fractures, so they tend to be shortened and also replaced even the bone is split. So it's going to be, if you see here, the oblique fractures are the angle because of the rotation and also because of the mechanism is going to be altered because of the oblique fractures. So they tend to be they shorten and also redisplace even if the bone is splintered. So it's going to be after that also it's going to get the in the oblique shape. So that is the oblique type of the fractures. Next one is the impacted fractures. The fragments are jammed tightly together and fracture line is distinctive. So if you see in this one, we are going to, there's going to be like a fracture fragments are going to be tied together. So that is the impacted fractures. Comminuted fractures means here you can see some more than like a bone fragments are going to be more than 2 or 3 also. In this condition, in case of multiple fractures, the bone fragments are going to divide into the more than 2 fragments, and also is a multiple small pieces becomes like a, is going to get the multiple small pieces. So this type of fragments are called, this type of fracture is called comminuted fracture. And also, if you see these fractures are going to be, just now we discussed, and also segment, so many classifications are there according to the international standards. One more classification, the Muller's classification is there. So we'll discuss here. And also incomplete fractures. So these incomplete fractures are going to be, is only like it's not going to get the complete, like a once complete fracture. Is they are not going to get the, both cortex are not going to be involved. Here is going to be, if we see the examples of the incomplete fractures are going to be the green stick fractures. So here the bone is buckled or bent. Here is not going to get the fracture, but they are going to get the bend at one place, but slight cortex is going to be the damage. So this type of, if you see here, the fracture is the green stick. How the green stick we cannot break, right? So that means some extent we are going to bend completely. So, but there is no break. So if it continues this one, so the fragments maybe it may get the break in the bone. So this type of fractures are commonly seen in the children's, and also their springy bones. So why they're going to get this green stick fractures in the children's, because the ossification is not completed in the children's. In those people, so these fractures are going to be commonly seen. And also is a plastically is a deformed bones. So if there any like abnormality in the bones, there may chance to get the green stick fractures, especially in the children's. And also next one is the compressed fractures. This is crumpled or cancellous bone. The compressed fractures is because of the compression or any like a compression force or because of the any injuries. So may chance to get the compression. So this type of commonly seen in the vertebral bodies and also calcaneum and also tibial plateau. If anybody jump from the height or suddenly fall on the like any history of the like a washroom injuries, if any slip in the bathroom because of the slippery, if they fall on the buttocks, so it may chance to get the compression, so it may use the fracture in the vertebral body. Or if anybody jump from the height, so may chance to get the calcaneum fracture and also tibial fractures. So these fractures are called as compressed fractures. So if you see the classifications according to the Muller's classifications, so if you see the bone, the long bones are going to divide into three parts: the proximal part, and also diaphyseal, and also distal. So if you see this, if you just take the long bone, this is the proximal end, and also distal end, and also shaft. So this proximal and also the shaft and also and the distal one is going to be, so this divided into the so many other classification, other types of the fractures. If you see here, this is the diaphyseal, that's a shaft. This shaft, again, the fractures are going to divide it into the simple fractures. Only simple, the fracture is going to be happen. Only one line is the spiral or oblique. And also the bed fractures are going to be occurs. So three or more fragments are going to be occur here. And also the complex fractures are going to be, the more fragments, the main fragments have no contact after the reductions. So it's many fragments are going to be happen in the complex, complex because of the complex fractures. So that is the one type of the classification in the Muller's classification, especially for the diaphyseals. So for the proximal and also distal fragments of the long bone is going to be, we can divide it into like extra articular, partial articular, and also complete articulars. So these are going to, we can see this type of fractures. If you see this is the extra articular, that means outside the joint. The partial articular means is going to including the joint surface, but it's not complete fracture. It's only partially articular part is going to be involved. And also completely articular. In the completely articular, you are going to see here, the articular structures are going to get the damage. So these are, we can see in the same in the proximal and distal. So that is about the Muller's classifications. So in the proximal and distal fractures may be divided into the extra articular and also partial articular, complete, and also the articular. So these are, we can see in the proximal and also distal parts of the long bone. And if we see the diaphyseal fracture, just now we see the three types of the fracture. Again, this divided into the many different sub-classifications, divided into many types. So if you see in the spiral, the simple one, so these simple are going to be divided into the spiral fracture, oblique fractures, and also transverse fractures. The wedging is going to be going to the more than two fragments. So it's going to be the spiral and also bending multi-fragmentary fractures. So it's going to be the wedge also going to divide into three types of the fractures. Coming to the is a complex one. The complex one is also is the spiral, segmental, and also irregular. So spiral also you're going to get the spiral, but the fragments are going to be many. But here complex. So it's this type of fractures are going to reduction will be very difficult, and also surgical procedure also will be difficult. The segmental one is going to divide the bone fragments into get the fracture in the segmentally. So it's going to give the parts, upper part and also lower part also going to get the breaking. So it's more than it's going to get the fracture the two sides. And also the irregular one, it's not a regular. So that means it's going to give the multiple fractures. So these are all the like a complexion one, like a complex fractures. So this type of fractures are going to give the so many complications like such as the delayed healing or malunion, non-union. Sometimes may chance to get the like avascular necrosis, or may chance to get this type of the complex like a fractures. So these are the some classifications of the Muller's classifications. So divided into the proximal and also distal and diaphyseal is each one divided into the other sub classifications: simple, wedge, and also complex fractures. So again, this one is going to the proximal and distal is going to be divided into the three classifications: simple, wedge, complex. In the extra articular, if you see here also going to the simple, only one fragment is going to be happening. More than two is going to be happening. So this one is going to the wedge. And also complex is going to be more than two like fragments, is a multiple like fragments we can see in case of the complex extra articular. The partial articular also same, we can see the another divided into the split type of fracture, depression fractures, and also both split and depression together. So these are the another classifications in the partial articular. Coming to the articular, so these are going to divide into the simple articular. So only one fragment is going to happen, but is going to be fractured in the articular surface. Only simple one line is going to get the fracture. And also simple articular and complex metaphyseal. So if the metaphyseal is going to be involved, this is also going to be many fractures and many fragments in the metaphysis. In the complex articular and also complex metaphyseal. So metaphyseal also going to be complex, and the articular surface also going to get the is a multiple. So these are going to be the articular surface. So these both is going to be happen. So articular, extra articular, partial articular, and also articular. So these fracture fragments fracture type we can see in the proximal end as well as the distal end. So this is about the Muller's classifications of the fracture. So coming to the how the fractures are going to be displaced. So if you see the displacement, if in case of the fractures, if it is the closed fractures or open fractures, how they are going to be displaced, this displacement will be depends upon the force of the injury, effect of the gravity, pull of the muscle attached to the site. So these factors are going to be the responsible for the displacement of the fracture fragments. So according to the force of the injury, so how the displacement is going to be happen, we can discuss here. So high also the types of the displacement. So displacement is going to be is a translations and also angulations, rotations, and also length also going to be changed. So this translation, because of the displacement, the fragments may be shifted sideways and backwards or forwards. So because of the displacement, maybe if you see the bone fragments, this may turn towards the like is a sideways, it may move sides or maybe forward and backwards. Maybe comes the fragments that comes forward and backward or side to side. So that displacement may chance to get. And also angulation, the tilt also going to be happen. So maybe it's going to be not completely only one direction is going to be tilted. If the fracture fragments is going to tilt one side, so it's because of the any like a muscle force or because of the any pull of the like a strong muscles. And also rotation also. So there is rotational deformities. So depends upon the mechanism of the injury, any twisting activities. So may chance to get these rotational deformities. And length also that can cause the shortening of the limbs. So because of the displacement and the impact and also implication, that means if the both bone fragments are crossed over the one over the others, so in this one the limb is going to get the shortening if the bone fragments are going to cross each other. So these are the main factors for the displacement. Because of the displacement is going to give the rotational and angular deviations, the limb length is going to be changed, the limb may chance to get the rotations. So these are the types of the displacement. So this displacement are due to so many reasons. Just now we discussed is because of the mild tightness of the muscles or maybe because of the force of the injuries and also gravity. So these are all going to be the causative factors for the displacement. So coming to the mechanism of injury. So what type of mechanism of injury is going to be happen for the bone fractures? So it's going to be the injuries, the direct injury or indirect injuries, and repetitive stress. So because of the any previous injuries or any previous repeated injury and also pathological fractures. So these are the mechanism of the injuries. We can these mechanisms are going to give the fractures. So this coming to the injury. So this injury is going to be the direct force and also indirect force. So because of the direct force, the bone breaks at the point of the impact. So for example, if anybody hit here, so they are going to get the fracture here. So this is the direct force is going to be happen, and also the top soft tissue is also going to damage because of the direct force. Or for example, if suddenly anybody fall on the outstretched hand, so because of the direct force, is going to get the fracture at the maybe is the wrist joint, and they may chance to get the Colles fracture. So this is the direct injury. So indirect force is with the bone breaks at the distance from the where the force is applied. So because of the fall down on the wrist joint, so they are going to get the fracture at the other part of the bone is because of the indirect force. An example, for example, if they fall on outstretched hand, so they may chance to get the fracture clavicle, may chance to get the fracture in the humerus. So and may fracture in the shoulder. So anything maybe the fall in the hand, but is going to give the fracture somewhere. So it indicates it gives the because of the indirect force. Also, some fractures patterns reveals the dominant mechanisms. So because of if we know the mechanisms, so we can suspect what type of the fracture fragments will be. So if you see in case of twisting, so if any twisting, sudden twisting movement, so may chance to get the spiral pattern. The bone fracture fragments will be the spiral pattern. In case of in the compressions, so it may chance to get the oblique pattern. So the fracture fragments will be in the oblique directions. In case of bending, like a force, if any bending force, so we'll get the triangular manner. And also tension, so is going to get the transverse. So tension because of the tightness or pull, or this one is going to only transverse fractures are going to get. So depends upon the mechanism of the injury, the pattern of the bone fragments will be different. So then we can easily understand if we know the mechanisms, so we can suspect and we can predict the type of the pattern of the fracture. If you see here, so because of the spiral pattern and also is going to be the short one is going to short And here is going to be, we are going to see the triangular, and also is going to be butterfly fragments. So this type of fragments we can see because of, in case of any like a twisting bending activities. So this is going to be because of the bending. So they may chance to get the triangular. And also in case of this is like a tension, so is going to give the oblique, or is going to give the transverse one. So these are the causative factors for the fractures. And also the another type of the fractures are called as fatigue fractures or stress fractures. So fatigue fractures is because of the, normally if anybody like a stress, or if they are tired or more tired, if they are doing the regular exercise, you may chance to get the fractures. Especially in case of sports, they may chance to get the fracture in the tibia and tibial plateaus, or maybe because of the running or regular activities, they may chance to get the metatarsal fractures. So it occurs in the normal bone subject to the repeat heavy loading, typically in athletes, dancers, and military personnel. So who are practicing dance vigorously or participating sports activities. So it may vigorously the damage if the stress is happened in the same place, so it may give the fractures. So the type of fractures are called as stress fractures, are also called as fatigue fractures. This is not only because of the like a dancing and also heavy loading, may chance to get the medications. So especially that is steroids, that is methotrexate. So because of this medication also may chance to get the bone, it will get the damage, it will give the fractures. And coming to the pathological fractures. So pathological fractures means that is because of the bone like a disease progressions. If we get anybody having the disease progression, any acute condition or chronic conditions, and also if any like a genetic disorders or nutritional deficiency disorders, they may chance to get the different type of the fractures. So these cost factors are the especially inflammatory conditions, which is also called as osteomyelitis. Because of the chronic inflammations or because of the infections, so the bones are going to get the, if you see here, the bones are going to get the infections. So because of the severe infection, the bones are going to be inflammations. So they may chance to get the fracture. So this is called as the pathological fractures. They're going to get the fracture, that is because of the disease progressions. So coming to the next one is the neoplastic giant cell tumor. So if you see the extra like a growth, the bone tissue and bone tumors are going to be formed. So because of the extra tissue formation and bone growth, like tumors, so may chance to get the fractures. So this is also is one of the like a very important, and also may chance to get the severe complications because of the tumors. So they may chance to get even though if they not treated properly, they may chance to get the death because of the simple like these tumors. And also Ewing's sarcoma, and also the secondary, some other complications also may chance to give the fractures. Other than these things, some other conditions such as any abnormal bone cyst formations, or also any bone cyst also may chance to get the fractures. So because of the abnormal formation of the tissue on the bone. And also in case of hereditary osteogenesis imperfecta, so in case of abnormal bones and joint formations, the curvature of the abnormal bones may chance to give the fractures. So that is because of the any genetic defects, that is a hereditary, that is called, which is called as the osteogenesis imperfecta. The formation of the bones also going to be not properly. So abnormal formation of the bones may give the fracture. And also one of the important fracture, another pathological fracture is osteoporosis. So because of the abnormality in the hormonal regulations, and also because of the vitamin deficiency, vitamin D and calcium deficiency also may chance to get the osteoporosis, especially after the menopause, after more than 45 to 50 years of age group, those people may chance to get. So in those conditions, the bone become weak and fragile, so may chance to get the fracture, so because of the osteoporosis. And also next one is other acquired generalized diseases such as the osteoporosis, osteomalacia, and rickets. So osteoporosis because of the vitamin and also D vitamin deficiency and calcium deficiency. Osteomalacia also is because of the osteopenia, so decreasing the bone mineral density, and rickets vitamin D deficiency. So these are the very, very important minerals to the bone and joint. So because of the deficiency of the minerals, and may use the like a fractures. So these are called the pathological fractures. So and also if you see, these are about the classification of the fractures and also types of the fractures. So if anybody get the fractures, so what are the symptoms they are going to get? So most commonly that is depends upon the involvement of the fractures. Any injury is going to give the pain and also swelling and also tenderness. is going to give the edema at the fracture site. So these are the most common, important features of the fractures, and also inability to do the movements. So they're unable to do the movement, and also is a may chance to get the deformities depends upon the severity of the injury. So these are the most common symptoms of the fractures. So in case of severe, and also in case of the open wound injuries, even they're going to get the hemorrhage, and there depends upon the severity of the fractures. So, and also if it is severe fracture, if the blood loss is, we are going to get the hypovolemic shock also, we can see in case of severe injuries. So depends upon the type of the fractures, the treatment plan will be different, and also depends upon the severity, that plan will be different. And also after the any injury or fractures or maybe dislocation or sprain and strain, so depends upon the physical examinations. And also after physical examinations, we have to do some investigation procedures. So for the musculoskeletal, especially for the fractures, so we have to check any X-ray and also with the investigation procedures. So if with physical examination and also X-ray, and including any other like a CT scan if sometimes required, if we want to know any other soft tissue injury, any blood vessels, or MRI scan also is needed in case of the soft tissue structures such as the nerve injury, and also if any injury of like an artery as well as nerves or any soft tissue structure involvement. So we have to see for the like a confirmation. We can advise for the CT scan and MRI scan. So especially most probably we have to check the X-ray. So depends upon the X-ray findings. So the treatment plan we can plan properly. And also these principles of the management will be depends upon the type of the fractures. So the first one is going to be the reduction. First thing is, first we have to, after the like a fractures, so after shifting the patients, so first the first aid as well as, so after the conservative management, so then we can go to the medical management. So in this management, so first one is going to be the reduction. So the reduction means to realign them into the normal positions. If the bone fracture is there, if the fractures happen, the bone fragments are displaced. So first thing is reduction procedures. So bring the limb into the normal position. How the normal position is there? If any deformity, any displacement of the bone fragments, so we have to bring it in the normal positions. The procedure is called as reduction. And also this reduction of the fracture may be either open reduction or closed reductions. So two types of reduction process are there. The first one is called as the open close reductions and also open reduction. Close reduction means here no surgical intervention is used. Only the fractures are going to be being manipulated by hand or under local or general anesthesia. So they are going to be like a physicians, and also they are going to be, for example, not displacement fractures, or maybe in case of the it's not a closed fractures, so only we have to give the close reduction. That means if we give the tractions or under manipulation with the hands with local anesthesia as well as general anesthesia, we have no need to apply, like we no need to give any surgical procedures. So only thing is with like a manipulations, or maybe we are going to give the some like a bandage applications, and also we have to give the manipulations under general anesthesia or local anesthesia, bring the bone fragments into normal positions. So that method is called as the close reductions. So coming to the open reductions, open reduction means is nothing but is has to be surgically opened and also reduced. So in case of, if for example, if you see here in the example is in the closed reductions, we are going to be give the traction and also going to give the application of the POP application, or maybe bandage application, or maybe we are going to put in the splint. So that will be in the closed reductions. In the open reductions, have to do the surgical procedures and also fix with any screws and plates, and depends upon the requirements, intramedullary nailing, maybe internal fixators and external fixators, you have to apply. So that is for the open reduction. So this reduction not always be necessary when there is some displacement. So not always necessary this open reductions if it is displacement also. For example, fracture of the clavicle may heal with a bump, which may be a problem. So in case of clavicle fractures, so it's not compulsory to open reductions. So it's then we can give the like a open reduction, and also we are going to give the like here is going to be application of the bandage, and also no need to apply like give the surgical procedures in case of the clavicle fractures. So that is the about the open reductions and also closed reductions. So these are the two types of reductions we are going to apply in the surgical, like in the management of the fractures. Coming to the immobilization. So next method of the treatment is immobilizations. Immobilization is going to be through the POP applications, or maybe we are going to give the crepe bandage and splinting. So it depends upon the involvement of the fragments, or depends upon the fracture type, and also fracture like a involvement of the fracture segment. So these immobilizations, the main important, the objectives of the immobilization is going to maintain the reductions. If we immobilize, we are going to reduce. So after the general under manipulations with the hands under general anesthesia and also local anesthesia, we have to maintain the joint positions in a fixed positions in the with the POP application or any splint application for a at least depends upon the site, at least 1 month to 2 months. So, and if the upper limbs, at least minimum 1 month to 1.5 months. For the lower limbs, at least we can maintain the immobilization 1.5 months to minimum 2.5 months. It will take to heal the bone tissues. So it is going to be improve the reduction and also improve the healing process. So that is the importance of the immobilizations. And also this also going to help to relieve the pain in case some fractures where there is no likelihood of displacement, fixation may not be necessary or minimal fixation will be sufficient. For example, neighboring strapping of some finger fractures. Here, no need to apply any like a POP applications or any splint applications. No need to apply. Only thing strapping is enough to maintain and also to immobilize the and also immobilize the fracture fragments. Example is that in case of any fracture of the fingers, you no need to give any surgical procedures. So that is depends upon the severity. If any closed fractures, so only we no need to give any manipulations. Only thing is we are going to like a strapping with the same with the fingers parallel to the other finger. So it's also going to be helpful to improve the healing as well as we can mobilize in the proper position. So what are the different methods we are going to do for the immobilization? The commonest method is the POP applications. That is the plaster of Paris applications. This plaster of Paris application is nothing but is the plaster is a impregnated bandage. So if you can see here, so this bandage is going to apply the POP applications. So which can be modulated to molded as a part when it's wet. If you wet, it's going to be molded the what position we want. So is the flexion position or extension position or any angulations. So this going to be we can mold easily. So in which position if you want. The standard method of the external splinting is still the plaster of Paris. So we are going to give the external like is going to splinting with this going to be with the plaster of Paris bandage. And so synthetic materials are now used for the splinting some fractures because of the lightweight and also waterproof qualities. So because of this POP application also, some are the advantage and the disadvantages are there. So in case of any disadvantages, so sometimes have to apply the synthetic materials to avoid the some wetting of the bandage, and also we can give the some lightweight. So this POP is going to give the heavy weight, so sometimes not suitable for the children's and also in the adult like old age people. In those conditions, we are going to use the synthetic materials for the immobilizations. Custom-made lightweight thermoplastic can be molded in the limbs or is molded if swelling or atrophy cause changes in the limb contour. So sometimes if the patient is not in the proper positions and also if not maintaining properly the limb with the heavy like a POP, so in those conditions they are going to give the like a custom-made lightweight thermoplastics. So we can give to maintain the the joint in the proper positions in case of any swelling or atrophy. So in those conditions, we are going to use the lightweight thermoplastics. So this is also going to be the one of the immobilization methods. And also some synthetic casting materials and also however are less is malleable and cannot be molded as effectively as plaster of Paris. So the both having the advantages, disadvantages. So in some conditions, POP is going to be more advantage, and in some conditions, the synthetic material is going to be more advantage. So that depends upon the condition and depends upon the persons. So if they're kids, if they're playing in the water or sometimes, so this POP is not going to be suited for them. So what are the advantage and disadvantage we are going to discuss in the here. And also while applying this POP applications, you should be careful. We have to give the like a proper information and orientation, information about the POP, how to give to the patient. If the patient complain anything like a complaints about the pain and swelling, any tingling, so immediately have to remove the POP applications in case of any allergy or in case of severe pain. So if the patient is not bearable the like any pain and tingling sensations, so that time immediately have to remove the POP applications. So this for the removal also, so we have to use the different type of the instruments, especially the tools are separately, there's oscillatory, like a blade or oscillatory, like a removable materials. Then we can use the instrument to remove the plaster of Paris. So in case of and also POP application, some people may chance to get the ulcers, or maybe some chance to get the skin changes, or maybe allergies may chance to get. So we have to take some precautionary measures. So while application of the POP applications and also synthetic materials applications. So if you see this POP application depends upon the site of the fractures. So we are going to apply in the different manner. So it's going to give the slab for the slab, as well as we are going to give the spica cast, and also for the, especially for who are having the hip fractures, or in case of the short leg cast, and also leg cylindrical cast, long leg cast. So these are going to be different type of the POP applications. Or in case of the in case of the hip injuries, we are going to arrange in the spica manner. So that is the depends upon the injury and depends upon the requirement. The POP we can mold in the in whatever the positions we required. So we are going to mold it in that position. So and also next one is, so normally we are going to use the all the like a brace, all the like a POP cast in the same in the like in the where we want, we are going to apply, and also we are going to mold the position what we needed. And also other than this POP application, we can do in the functional bracing. So here in the functional bracing, we no need to put the POP application like in the old like a manner. It's no need to apply the whole limb. So we are going where we want to stabilization, where we want to fixation. So that part is going to be stabilized, and that part going to be is mobilized in the functional like a movement. So this is called like the functional bracing cast applications. The functional braces have is a hinge or allow the movements. So here we can do the, if we apply the POP, so the person unable to do the movement in the limb. So that time, so we may chance to get the stiffness, other complications. But here, this with the functional bracing, we are going to create some of the movement in the joint, as well as we are going to maintain the like immobilizations. So that is advantage of the functional bracings. And also this has reduced many of the problems that were seen in the direct results of the prolonged immobilizations. So if we use this functional bracing, we are going to avoid the complications which are caused for the prolonged immobilizations. So that is the importance and main like a functional bracing. And also another benefit of allowing the movement of the joints, provided that it does not is unduly stress of the fracture site. So is that is may produce or promote union by promoting the area of the blood circulations. So if we give the slight movement at the fracture fragment site, so because of this functional bracing, so it's not going to be completely fix the fracture fragments. So going to get the slightly movement at the fracture fragment. So because of the slight movement at the fracture fragments, also increasing the blood circulations. So because of the increasing blood circulation, it promotes the healing process in the fracture fragments. So that is the main advantage of the fracture functional bracing. So this is also one of the immobilization techniques, but many advantages are there. But this going to be, we can prevent the complications in who are going to get the like a, due to immobility, like a immobilization with the POP cast. And also next other treatments. So if you see the advantage and disadvantage of the POPs. So what are the plaster of Paris? What are the advantages? If you apply the plaster of Paris after the close reductions, so here there is no need for the application. Like no need to do the surgical procedures if you apply the POP applications. But it's complications. So if after the surgical procedures, many complications may arise. So depends upon the involvement of the tissues. And also we are going to avoid the complications because of the application of the POP. And also no infection risk. After surgery, may chance to get the infections, but with the POP, the infection risk is going to be decreased, or no infections. And also the treatment is going to be, we can give immediately after the fractures. So within the 1 or 2 hours is going to finish the treatment plan. That means the reduction as well as the immobilization method with the POP applications. And also rapid patient discharge immediately after the application of the POP. So we can discharge the patient. Here the patient no need to stay in the hospital. And also it's also going to be cheap and relatively easy to apply with the training. So if it's also compared to surgeries may expensive, and also this POP is going to be the less price. And also if you are proper only with not only the orthopedician is going to do, or the physician is going to do with the proper training, the who are the like in the clinicians, attenders, or who are the like junior doctors, they also going to do, or nurses also going to apply the POP applications. And also next one is new lightweight caster is the alternative. So, and also sometimes if the person is unable to bear the weight of the slab or weight of the POP, so we can use the lightweighted one with the synthetic materials. And also radiolucents. So in case of PO, we sometimes we are going to use the some material radiolucents. So with this one also we are going to take the X-rays, so we can get the X-rays through the fracture immobilization areas also. And also may observe fluids or bleeding, and the extent of the bleeding can be traced on the cast itself and also the monitor daily. So if we apply the POP, so we can monitor so how much the bleed is observing. If any bleeding occurs, the POP is going to observe the extent of the bleeding, so we can predict what is the causative factor, and also we are going to monitor how much the bleeding they are getting. The main advantage is going to observe the fluid and also bleeding. So if anything happens, so the fluid is the POP is going to observe easily, and also can be molded for several minutes before the hardening. So within the less time, whatever the position we need, so we can mold it into that position. Is it a flexion position or extension position or maybe internal rotation? So particularly depends upon the requirement or depends upon the need of the position we are going to mold it. So these are the advantage of the POPs. Coming to the disadvantages, here also the disadvantage also there. So these are going to be, it may not be possible to reduce the fracture correctly or maintain the is a reduction. So sometimes we cannot reduce properly. If we give the close reductions in the under general anesthesia or maybe in the local anesthesia, so we don't know if the fracture fragments are displaced or not exactly. So sometimes we cannot give the exact position for the fragments. So that may chance to get, and also may require surgery at later dates. So who are having incorrectly, so those people may need the surgery after the application of the POP also. And also plaster needs the removal or windowing in case of if you inspect the skin. So if anybody having any infection or allergies, so it's going to be how to removal of the piece we can do, and also how to do in case of any allergies or any infections in the skin. And also may need removal in case of the increasing the swelling or reapplications once swelling has subsided. So may chance to get the swelling because of the improper applications. So because of the tight application of the POP, it may use the compression of the nerves as well as compression of the arteries. So because of the compression, the limb is going to get the heaviness as well as tingling sensation and severe pain. So in those conditions, so we should not, and also better we can remove the POP applications. And also if it is wet, this may gives the smell, like a smelly. So that's the reasons. So this POP is going to be, it's not suitable for some age groups. And also it may be heavy. So the POPs may be heavy. So if it's heavy, we can use some synthetic materials. And also may chance to get the crack. And also may rub the skin and cause the sores. And also it gives the plaster sores or plaster pressure, also gives the wounds or sores on the body. So these are the disadvantage of the POP. So coming to the another a treatment method is the internal fixations. So these internal fixations are going to be, so we are going, if anybody get if not managed with conservatively, with the close reductions and also with the medical management, conservative management, so then we can do the internal fixations. So in the internal fixations, have to do the a screw application of the screws and plates to maintain and to stabilize the bone fragments in the fixed place. So surgical intervention by applying the plates and screws to the fracture is known as the open reductions and also internal fixations. So that's why we call as it's a ORIF, open reduction and internal fixations. So most commonly we are having the open wounds, open fractures, and also comminuted fractures are going to do with the application of the open reduction and also internal fixations. So what are the advantage of the open reduction internal fixations? So it permits a detailed inspection and also accurate surgical assessment of the site of the injury and produce the undertaken. So if you open the fracture fragment areas, so we can inspect any other injuries surrounding to the in case of the open injury or open fracture. So that time we can check, is there any injury of the blood vessel or any muscle, any soft tissue or any arteries are injured. So we have to inspect and we can examine properly. So if we do the surgical procedures, So there we can give the best results, and also to avoid some complications such as the avascular necrosis, and also in case of vascular injuries and also nerve injuries, and we are going to minimize if you do the like a vascular, like a internal fix, open reduction internal fixation. So these are the advantage of the internal fixation and open reduction internal fixations. So what are the disadvantage of the open reduction internal fixations? So this disadvantage also is going to be surgeries inevitably cause the additional trauma and potential exposure to microorganisms. So if we get injury also, so we'll get the so much of severe pain, and also is going to give the many complications after the injury. So same like in the surgical procedures, is going to be damage of the tissue as well as exposure to the microorganisms. So if you do the POP applications, we are not going to get any like a tissue damage, like a complications, and also it's not possible to get the microorganism effects. So this, but if the open reductions after like a surgical procedures, so may chance to get the potential damage of the like a tissue as well as the microorganism may chance to effects. It can convert a closed fracture into the open fracture. So if you do the like internal open reduction internal fixation, is going to be converted the closed fracture into open fracture. That means is going to get the injury to the tissues as well as we are going to open the fracture fragments. So it becomes the open fracture. It requires surgery with all the sequelae and potential complications. Ironically, the rigid fixation may remove the stimulus for the callus formations. So this is also one of the complications. If you fix the like internal fixations, so it may give the and also may remove the stimulus for the callus formations. So if you apply these internal fixations, so these are going to remove the callus formation stimulations. So that is the disadvantage. The implants may be removed after the 12 to 18 months in the future, or if they start becomes the problems. So sometimes they're going to keep the internal fixations continuously if they won't get any complications. But in case of the patient complain about any discomfort or any pain or any pressure inside the joint, after the 1 year to 1.5 years, so depends upon the like a patient it depends upon the patient that means the opinion that doctors are going to remove the internal fixations. For example, screw may become an irritant. In the young, they will be removed as the whilst they are in the bone will grow and also respond to normal stress normally. If in the children, if we give this open reduction internal fixations, so after healing also, because of the screws and plates is going to give the compression force and also this more giving the irritations and stress on the joints, and also sometimes may give the growth alteration also. So that's why, so after 1 year, so the doctors are going to remove the internal fixations and also with another surgery. So and also next one is another treatment procedure is intramedullary nailing. So intramedullary nailing, so is nothing but is keeping the one iron metal inside the bone. So where they're having the problem inside the bone fragments. So if in case of any increase the space between the bone fragments, if any missing components, so the intramedullary nailing is going to be help to improve the healing process in the bone. So here a hollow metal, so a hollow is going to be hollow metal rod is going to be introduced. One end of the long bone here is going to insert. So they're going to send into the distal part of the like a bone. So here is going because of this hollow like a metal. So in the upper fragments and also this lower one is going to fix with the screws. So because of fixing here, so it's going to be the healing in the way they're having the fracture. So in case of any like a bone loss and also if you get like a distance between the two fragments are going to be connected with this healing process is going to connected with the medullary nailing. So it leads to the bone growth in between the two fragments. So the proximal aspect of the nail is threaded. So here is going to be threaded. And also this permits the tool to thread into the nail at the later dates for its removal. So after 1 year to 1.5 years, so the thread is going to be, they're going to take out. So the remove means while they're after the healing process, they are going to take out the outside easily. So this is the intramedullary nailing. So this main is going to be to improve the healing process faster in case of if anybody having like a delayed healing or in case of the especially for the older age groups. So this will improve the healing process. So this IM nailing for the fracture for the long bone has evaluation management of the many fractures, especially for the older age peoples. In those conditions, in those age groups, healing may be difficult and also takes time. So intramedullary nailings are going to be helpful to improve the healing process. So the advantage of the intramedullary nailings. So indications are the intramedullary nailings are going to be in case of closed diaphyseal fractures and also open diaphyseal fractures, segmental fractures in case of any segmental diaphyseal fractures, and also floating knee and non-union. In case of non-union also, if not healing properly, so this intramedullary nailing is going to be helpful to improve the circulation to the fracture fragments. So easily is going to get the healing process. So what are the advantage of the IM nailings? So it's going to stable fixation for the diaphyseal fractures. So it's going to give the any abnormality. So if any like any displacement, any like angulation and rotationals, so it's going to fix the fragments in the proper positions. And also load sharing device allowing the early weight bearing. So because of this nailing, so because of this going to give the weight bearing is going to be easy because of the sharing the weight. The load is going to sharing into the these devices. So the weight bearing will be easy and also in the early stage of we can do the in the early of the weight bearing activity. So it will improve the healing process. Coming to the external fixations. So these external fixations are going to be like a pins and wires. So these are especially in case of any bony fragments. So in case of any open fractures, so it's not suitable to like a reduce. And so in those conditions are going to apply the internal external fixations. The indications of external fixations are the closed open fractures, closed fractures with soft tissue compromise, periarticular fractures, especially surrounding to the articular surfaces, polytrauma, and also damage control, pelvic fracture, and also children's fracture. So these are the indications of the external fixators. So external fixators, if in case of the any like a, if you see the comminuted fractures, so and also in case of it's not fixed properly, so they're going to do the surgical procedure with the external fixations. And also pins and K wires. So depends upon the involvements. So sometimes we are going to do this is going to do in the elbow fractures. So and also K wire and also pins are going to be applied. So this type of fractures is going to be the hospital stay and also the okay, mobility is going to be the early than compared to the other techniques. So next one is the another important technique is the Ilizarov external fixations. So these are the looks like is the like a very like a complicated surgeries in case of any fracture like in case of non-union or if any bony fragments are missing. For example, if you see the segmental fractures, if a bony fragments are missing, if any gap between the fragments is the more, so in those conditions unable to get the like if bony fragments are bone grafts. So here, only thing is have to do the Ilizarov techniques. That means if you put this external fixator outside, so this external outer, these rings are going to be, the proximal rings are going to pull the, like a tibia is going to be upwards, and also these lower fragments are going to pull the downwards. So maintaining the, in between the stability is maintained with the, this like a Ilizarov technique. These rings are going to be, these iron rods are going to maintain the stability in the bone. So because of this maintaining the same positions, here the healing process takes place here. In between the two fragments, the healing process is going to be takes place. So it helps to improve the healing process in the both bone fractures and also in the tibia, especially in case of multiple fractures and also in case of the comminuted fractures. And as the indications are the fracture non-union, if the fracture is not healed properly, and also limb lengthening procedures. So for example, if anybody get the short limb length, the short length because of the missing the bone fragments. In those conditions also, if we give this one, we can improve the length in the bone. And also next one is the long bone deformity corrections in case of any let's say osteogenesis imperfecta or maybe is a Paget disease and case of rickets. So these conditions are going, the bone becomes going to be curvatures or arthrogryposis. So in this condition, the bones are going to become like curvature is going to be more. So if you want to correct these ones, so with these Ilizarov techniques are going to be used to lengthen the bone and also to prevent the shortness of the bone. In case of the open fractures, it also, this is going to be indicated. Malunions, if it is union in the healing process in the abnormal way, so in the malunion, and also correction of the joint contractures, correction of the congenital deformities in case of the hemimelia, club foot, or club hand or congenital pseudoarthrosis. In case of some congenital abnormalities also, so these surgical procedures are going to be indicated. And also reconstruction of the bone defects, if any bone abnormality or any vascular deficiencies or vascular insufficiency, such as the Burgess disease. So these are the indications of the Ilisarov techniques. So these techniques, so after the healing process, again, is going to do the surgical procedures to remove the external fixations. So after the, if they maintain the more than 2 to 3 months, so in between here, the do fragments, the healing takes place, it improve the healing and also improve the length of the bone. So these are the Ilisarov techniques. And also next technique is next management, fracture management is with the traction. So this is going to be in case of any like a, if the condition is not treated with the POP applications or surgical procedures, sometimes it suits for the old age people. So, and also in different type of the fractures are going to be, depends upon the, how to do the different type of the tractions. So this traction is application of the pulling force of the body. So it may be either direct pull or indirect pull. So how to give the, that means if the fracture fragments are there here, if it is the rear is displaced, so if we give the tractions, it's going to come to the neutral position, it's going to come to the alignment. So we are going to reduce with the traction. So traction is less common in the orthopedic wards nowadays, although it has its place. But nowadays, many people are not doing the distractions, but there are still some advantages are there with the distractions. So these uses of distraction are, so to restore the bone or limb length if it is has reduced by the fracture or disease. So we are going to reduce the length of the limb length or reduce the fracture or disease. So in these conditions, we are going to use the traction. And as to maintain the correct limb length. So in case of the shortening because of the fracture or like a displacement, or maybe is abnormal position of the limbs, so may chance to get the short limb length. So if we give the traction, we bring them into the normal position. And also overcome the muscle spasm, which may be cause the limb shortening after the fracture. So because of the muscle spasm or because of the muscle overactivity also, so it pull the bone fragments in the other directions. So because of these things, may chance to get the limbs, may chance to get the shortness. So if we give the traction, so we can bring into the normal positions, maintain the alignment. So these are going to be the types of the structures are going to be, one is the skin tractions. So this skin traction is going to be forces applied over the large area. This spreads the load and also some comfortable and also efficient. So if you see the skin tractions, so we have to apply the crib bandage. So along with the lower limbs and also at the edge, we have to give the weight. So because of this weight, this weight is going to pull the long axis is going to give the traction and also to prevent the friction at the bone fragments. So where they get the fracture, and in this case of the intracapsular fractures are going to give most commonly in the old age people is going to give in the case of the tractions. The force is applied is transmitted from the skin to the bone via superficial fascia, deep fascia, and also intramuscular septa. So it is going to be the traction is going to get the from the skin and also bone via the fascia. So these are the main mechanism of the skin tractions. So for better efficacy, the traction force is applied only to the limbs distal to the fractures. So always we have to give the traction distal to the limb. So it is going to give the best results while giving the tractions. So when is indicated the tractions? So temporary management of neck of the femur of the fracture. So it's a extra intracapsular fracture of the neck of the femur. And also in case of if the patient is having like a high diabetes and also the blood sugar levels and blood pressure levels are high. So it's not like a indicator for the surgery. In those conditions, skin traction is the only one option to prevent the complications. Femoral shaft fracture in the children's, undisplaced fracture acetabulum, and also after reduction of the dislocation of the hip. So after dislocation of the hip, so I have to maintain the traction force to maintain the joint in the normal positions. To correct the and also the minor fixed flexion deformities of the hip and knees. So if any minor deformities, so we are going to do with the skin traction. Next one is the skeletal tractions. So these skeletal tractions are going to be is in case of any injury or especially is the any lacerated wounds conditions. And also is going to be, this should be in case of the patient having a skin traction is contraindicated. So in case of skin traction is contraindicated, in those conditions are going to give the skeletal tractions. And the patient with the lacerated wounds, the patient with the external fixators in situ, and also when the weight is required for the traction is more than 6.5 kilo in the obese patient. Because of If you give the skin traction won't maintain the more than 6 kilos. So because of it is going to superficial traction, it can maintain the like only less than like a 4 kilos or 3 kilo can maintain with skin tractions. If we required more than 5 to 6 kilos, so in the obese patients, so we are going to do the skeletal tractions. And also the skeletal traction is a means pull exerted directly on the skeletal system by attaching the wires, pins together, and also tongs into the thoracic bone. So you are going to apply all the slings and pins are going to arrange. So he's going to get the skeletal traction. So in this one, if you want to give the, for example, knee traction, so also hip traction, here going to stabilize with the knee and hip with the slings, and also we are going to apply the pins at the knee joints. So how to give the traction is in the long axis directions. So this traction is going to be applied continuously for the extended period. So here we have the application of the pins inside the joints is going to be the continuous tractions. So because of the continuous tractions, so we are going to give the we are going to give the best results to prevent the complications. So that is about the skin traction and skeletal tractions. So also the one of the major part in the treatment and the fractures. So that's all about the treatment fractures, the management of the fractures, the immobilization with the POP application, and also open reduction internal fixation and and also external fixators. Conservative management with the POP and also surgical procedures and also skin tractions. So these are the different type of the treatment management for the fractures. So in the next class, we are going to discuss about what are the fracture complications we are going to discuss. Hope you understand clearly. If you have any doubts, please you can ask me through the message so I can clarify your doubts. That's all about today's topic. Thank you very much. See you in the next class.